We are so happy to have you along for the ride for the next 3 hours. Here from Titans training camp, St. Thomas Sports Park. Day number, 6, rolls along, if I read my hashtags correctly this morning from the 1045 The Zone Twitter account. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. 615-737-1045. Mark Mabry starts us off. The praise is already pouring in on Zone TV, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live, Twitter. That's where you can hang out with the show. Saying, trade on the table. Titans Amy to 1045. Buck goes to Titans Radio. Ooh, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's in everybody's best interests. Not because I wouldn't be thrilled to be a part of the Titans radio crew that does such an exceptional job, but I think Amy is best suited for Titans radio, and I am best suited to scream in front of a microphone for 3 hours, which is fortunate because that's what I'm here to do today. 615-737-1045. A fun show ahead for you, of course. Kevin Byard will join us at 11:15 live at our camp table out here at St. Thomas Sports Park. We may have a few other guests over the course of this morning. I'm just screaming at people, media members, as they're walking by. Hey, you want to sit down? You want to talk about the Titans? And most of the time they don't make eye contact with me. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how I feel about it. It's like I'm in my own quarantine over here in the corner, out on the third field, where, of course, hear no evil, see no evil with regards to Titans players. Lucas, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. I hear it's beautiful weather out there.
Oh, it couldn't be better. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about pads, fully padded practices, because that's what begins officially today. We're going to get a better view, a better idea of where this team stacks up based on all the responsibilities each position has to account for, right? Now we'll finally be able to see a discernible difference in how they view the tight end position, because now we'll get a fuller picture of what it is that the tight ends need to be doing. Offensive line, defensive line, we'll start to see the run game take shape more as they work through and rep it out through the next couple of weeks at training camp. So fully padded practices beginning today, and it just, it feels like football. Now, not so much that it feels like football. I'm not going to start crying like Alexi Lalas did on the U.S. men's national team Gold Cup victory. It's everything. It's everything to have the pads on.
The pads are popping.
The pads are popping. It's America. Shut up, Alexi. No, instead, we are going to go through the positions and talk about today which ones we should see the most discernible steps forward now that we are in these fully padded practices. What we're seeing from Ryan Tannehill, I know the interceptions have become a talking point on social media. I refuse to call them a concern. I refuse to fan the Twitter flames that seem to be climbing higher and higher with each Christian Fulton interception. So we'll get into that over the course of today. Worth noting that Julio Jones not out here after going down yesterday in the middle of practice, which, again, nothing to be overtly concerned about yet. We will monitor the situation for you. 615-737-1045. Zach Bunch. Oh, good. Zach Bunch is here in the comments on YouTube. He says, let's go. So ready for some NFL football. Will Bowling is sitting here at the table. Will, I'm not going to be able to ask you this on air because you don't have a microphone in front of your face. But did you receive a DM from a family member of Zach Bunch's at 2:30 in the morning? No, Will Bowling did not. Lucas and I are in an exclusive club. Do we talk? I mean, Zach's at, no, it's okay. I don't need him to have a microphone, Greg. That's very good of you, though. What are you laughing about? That was mean, wasn't it? I hope people could see that entire interaction on Zone TV. No, it's fine. It's lovely to have Will Bowling out here. Without Will Bowling, you couldn't see me. But apparently he told me today that the video's been skipping. I had no idea that the video's been skipping.
There's been times, and credit to Will Bowling for finding a solution, messing around in here on Zoom, but there has been times where, I guess they're kind of out of style now, the boomerangs.
No, I still see drunk girls on Instagram doing boomerangs.
People still do boomerangs? Okay,
yeah.
Well, there's been
times.
Is
that what it looks like?
Yeah, where it's like it glitches to where you're doing a boomerang of something. Like you're just moving back and forth like this.
Well, at least it looks like something's happening. So where it's not, because I see Ramon just freeze, like it looks like he's laughing his ass off when it freezes on him in the studio. But I had no idea that the cameras were having issues out here until he informed me this morning that he'd fix the problem, which is really how I think we should handle things with me.
Yeah,
moving
just tell
forward.
you after it's figured out.
Don't tell me that I'm not on the air with Christian Fulton or that I can't turn John Robinson's microphone on. Don't tell me these things.
Just let you speak to the empty canyon.
Just let me roll through it. Let me talk into the ether. I'll be so much happier that way. 615-737-1045. Benny Mike says, Buck looking like the New Age Weekend at Bernie's. I don't get that reference. Is that a reference you get?
Yeah, Weekend at Bernie's. It's the movie where...
Is that the dead guy?
Yeah, I've never seen it,
like
but they have the dead guy with the sunglasses, and they drag him around like he's alive.
Okay, well, I hope that I have much nicer sunglasses than dead Bernie. 615-737-1045. In the meantime, though, watching things. Oh, beautiful. They're out on the third field today, directly in front of me. I was not sure whether that would be the case. But we have a lot of things to go through with you over the course of today's show. But coming up next, I want to talk about A.J. Brown. I want to talk about, he's again out here practicing today. He has been really the talk of training camp. Lucas, did you see that we were a part of the Titans propaganda machine? In the YouTube videos that they're putting out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the content that they put out. I guess it'll be narrated by one Buck Rising.
Well, not just me. It's not like I'm the only voice on there. But they've taken clips from all of us on our various broadcasts, whether it's Chris Harris from Channel 4 who just walked by me, or John Burton from News Channel 5. I heard Kayla Anderson get a little work in there. So, but on my particular segment on the Episode 1, apparently this is a series that they'll be producing through training camp that the Titans have on their YouTube page. My particular segment was involving A.J. Brown. That's because it feels like that's all I've been talking about. It feels like that's all that anybody's been talking about, just how much of a difference this third year, when he's saying that he's fully healthy for the first time coming into a training camp, which is not something I remember from his rookie year. I don't remember him having injury concerns. Now, I think there's some adjustment that A.J. Brown is probably going to realize that as he gets to spend more time in the NFL, as his career progresses, as the years start to stack up and the hits start to stack up, that stuff that he probably considers to be playing through injury right now is not like the kind of injuries that 10-year, 8-year NFL veterans are talking about. Not to diminish what it is that A.J. Brown was going through, because I'm sure it was hugely uncomfortable. And I'm not somebody who has the mental toughness to be able to play through. I stubbed my toe. I refuse to do the radio broadcast for 3 hours. And all I do is sit here and yell. Like, I'm not somebody who's going to criticize mental toughness of these athletes. But watching him when he seems to feel that he's 100% healthy, and he's, you'll hear audio from him later in the show coming up next. But I guess the question that I want to ask the audience, and we would love your involvement over the course of today, 615-737-1045, as we get closer to the season, and as you see more of these videos being produced, as you see more of these highlight reels that Will Bowling and A to Z Sports and everybody else is pumping out on social media, which of the wide receivers, you can be excited to watch both of them. You can be excited to watch this Titans offense, and there are a great many reasons to be. But I want to know who the audience is more excited about heading into the 2021 season, to watch A.J. Brown, or is it the excitement of Julio Jones that is still carrying the bulk of the hype, right? Julio Jones, we basically talked about him for a month when he signed here in Tennessee, because that's all that Titans fans, rightfully so, wanted to talk about. That's a massive get, a massive trade, a win now move, a signal, a message from the organization saying, hey, we're all in. We're trying to make sure that we can not just be satisfied with a division title or an AFC Championship game appearance. No, we're going to continue to build upon the strides that we've made as an organization. I mean, it's striking to me every time one of these players that's been around this franchise for a couple of years. Just take Jayon Brown yesterday, who was our Titans training camp guest. Kevin Byard today at 11:15. Jayon's been here for 5 years, or this will be his 5th year. This is my 5th year covering the team. And how much different the players seem to be reacting to training camp in 2021 as opposed to training camp in 2016. How much different they view their own organization, how much different it feels to them, because this is now an NFL franchise that has built a winning culture over the last couple of years. John Robinson has basically retooled this thing. Mike Vrabel has helped it take the next steps that they were hoping when they parted ways, whether you want to call it amicably or mutually, or whether you want to say that they just straight up fired Mike Mularkey. However it is that you choose to view that particular era, they were hoping that this would not bite them in the butt to fire a playoff game winning coach and then advance this thing further. That's exactly what they've done, what they were trying to do, and what they've done with Mike Vrabel, now heading into his, 4 years for Mike. To watch the way that these guys react to their own organization and how they themselves are feeling the hype in the same way that media are, in the same way that fans are, I think that's something that's legitimately palpable. So what are you most excited to see with the season on the horizon? Also, today we're going to rip Jason Martin. I don't know if we should call him Lucas, because I heard that on August 3rd he made a Super Bowl prediction, and now I want to decide, this is also going to be a question for the audience at some point, what should be the punishment for a incorrect Super Bowl prediction, especially when you're picking the game in February on August the 3rd? Maybe we should crank call Jason Martin and yell at him for a little bit. What do you think about that? Because the last time we tried this with him, he ducked us.
Well,
cowered us.
I'm looking at him sitting in the studio. He's still sitting at your mic in the studio.
Can he hear me?
No, I don't think so. He's in a deep conversation right now with the J. Martin Ramon crew, but we can try to bring him in.
Okay. Well, maybe I don't want to. I was hoping to save that for noon, but if he's available to us, perhaps Lucas will go and see if he can find some diplomacy to find a way to trick Jason Martin into coming on our radio show so we can rip him about a Super Bowl prediction. Regardless, all that and more coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone, live from Titans training camp.
J. Martin Ramon. Just say it how you wanna.
Talk about a lot of things that are happening down on Rocky Top. Yeah, I said down. I know it's over on Rocky Top.
Screw it. Say how you want to.
I don't care.
We do not care.
J. Martin Ramon. Jason Martin and Ramon Foster. Tomorrow morning starting at 6 on 104.5 The Zone.
Ramon on Jason Martin's Super Bowl prediction.
I've been fighting saying this out loud now
Say
for
it.
about a week.
Do it, Jay.
I'm picking the Titans to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay, so he fought it for how many weeks? He fought it for how many weeks, and then that's
Why
all.
don't you let him tell you?
That's
Hey, yeah, I'm here, Buck.
Jason Martin of J. Martin Ramon joins us. Hello, buddy.
Hey, what's going on? So, yeah, I fought saying it for a couple of weeks. I've been waking up with the same feeling every day. I didn't have this feeling 6 weeks ago. I'm not even sure I had it a month ago. I don't know what turned in me, but I've never been this guy. I'm not somebody that makes predictions this early. I'm certainly not somebody that I would say most people would say I've been more negative about the Titans throughout my time here than most people in this city. And I'm just going with my gut. Purely, I just feel it in my heart for some reason that the Titans are going to win the Super Bowl. So I'm going to stop trying to talk myself out of it and just say, yeah, I'm going to roll with it. The Titans are going to win the Super Bowl.
Okay, no, you can't start your analysis off with I'm not somebody who makes predictions on August 3rd because you just made a prediction on August 3rd.
I've become that guy, I guess. That's a
What-
fair point.
What the hell is this? So what? Okay, so no, you can't just. I'm not going to accept. I'm sorry. I'm not going to accept the answer that you don't know what changed in you because then I will not accept the analysis. What the hell are you talking about? The Titans winning the Super Bowl on August the 3rd. What happened?
I like the moves that they made defensively. I've thought through the rest of the AFC. The Chiefs' offensive line is going to be new, first of all. The defense is still not going to be great in Kansas City either. You look at Buffalo. Buffalo still has running issues. We got to see how year 2 of Josh Allen with Stephon Diggs and everything works out. I like Buffalo. I still like Kansas City. I don't know if I trust Baker Mayfield. I like Kevin Stefanski. But do I love the Browns? They're still the Browns. I kind of want to see it again. The Ravens, my other hot take is I don't think they make the playoffs this year.
Oh,
I'm
spicy.
way
Look
down.
at him.
I'm way down on Baltimore this year. Indianapolis is having a disastrous start to camp, and they already were disastrous to me because they decided Carson Wentz was going to be the answer, and I just don't buy that. Miami, they've got quarterback issues. New England, they've got quarterback issues. It's too soon for the Chargers. The Broncos have a lot of pieces that you like, but they don't have a quarterback, so they're irrelevant. The Raiders have Derek Carr and John Gruden. That's enough for me to think they're not in it. I just look at it and I say, I have question marks about every single team in the AFC. I think it's a stacked unit. I didn't even mention Pittsburgh, but that's because I just don't see it this year.
Washed.
Yeah, exactly, especially with Roethlisberger. So I just look at Tennessee. I say, yeah, they're young. Yeah, there's question marks. That secondary bothers me. The kicking situation bothers me. I think that Ryan Tannehill's ready to shut people's mouths because I still don't think he's getting the respect that he deserves. I've increasingly come to like him more and more, seemingly by the week. Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry. I think Julio is huge. A.J. Brown, for some reason, Bleacher Report is saying he's now a fantasy bust because of Julio Jones. That's fine. I'll take him. I just like the makeup of this team. I like Bud Dupree's addition. I think he's being undervalued. They're saying, well, a lot of what he did was because of the Steelers up front. A lot of what he did was because of T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt was nowhere as good after Bud Dupree's injury either, by my eyes. So I just look at it and I say, why not the Titans? I love the way the offense is set up. What do you have to do in the NFL now? You have to score a ton of points. And I like that. Plus, you're getting Taylor back. Plus, you're getting Saffold back. Nate Davis coming around. Everything, and Ben Jones is vastly underrated. I've just talked myself into this, and I'm sticking with it.
Oh, my goodness. Jason Martin of J. Martin Ramon, a full roster diagnostic. Listen, I understand a lot of your trepidations about teams like the Browns. The Ravens missing the playoffs sounds like you're speaking a foreign language to me. That does not compute. But, I guess, but what is keeping them from doing this? That maybe this is just the way that I'm trained to look at things. Maybe it's just because we've gone through a particular series of drills in practice that I can't report on until 11:15.
Sure.
That makes me, again, hugely skeptical of this football team because of their history at this particular position. And if you are good at context clues, perhaps you could help me figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
What is keeping this team from a Super Bowl right now? Because that's the question that I'm going to ask the audience, given that you have just made the case for them as a Super Bowl contending team.
Well, look, you are certainly putting a lot on young guys. You got, 3 of the 5 starters in the secondary are 22.
Yes.
You have to hope Farley's healthy. If he is, I really like that draft pick. Christian Fulton, we just didn't get to see much last year. You need to see that. I look at this and I say this, Buck. Kevin Byard had a down year. He was asked to do a ton last year. I think he's hungry. Harold Landry, kind of average. Rashaan Evans, playing for his life. Jayon Brown, excited to get back and playing for a future contract. I look at those guys. Big Jeff, I felt like hit a wall because he was asked to do a lot. You put Autry next to him. Those are two really nasty dudes that played at the same university and have the same mentality, which is kill the other team, basically, in a football context. And then you add Bud Dupree, who has a huge motor and is really ready to show out. And then the more I hear about Jenkins, the more I like Jenkins in terms of some of the things that have been said and written about sort of his energy, and he's saying some positive stuff about the young guys. So certainly it's the defense. And then, of course, they don't want to answer it. They say snarkily every time, you've got to kick it through the two uprights. But the kicking thing does concern me.
The kicking thing should concern you. Jason Martin, 6 to 10 a.m. on J. Martin Ramon. Final question for you, then I'll let you get on with your afternoon because I'm sure you're exhausted from the fastest 4 hours in radio. What should be the punishment for an incorrect Super Bowl prediction made on August the 3rd?
Hey, man, I said that the listeners, the fam of our show could come up with that, and they've had some funny things. Look, I'm not doing tattoos, not doing rings and things like that.
Oh, I think you would look great with a Mike Tyson face tat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe it can be painted on. The polar plunge for charity, I did that at Super Bowl years ago in Minneapolis. I would be glad to do something like that. Anything fun, I'm willing to do. If it's humiliating, that's one thing. I mean, you've done this before, Buck. You know what it's like to lose a bet.
Yeah, but I think there's you as a responsible adult, now the father of a child, you are less likely to do something that would, cause yourself permanent humiliation. And I am more inclined to do something. Now, the shaving of the head where I looked like male genitalia for the better part of 3 months, that was about as costly a punishment as I'm willing to sustain. But I think Lucas and I would like to submit our hats into the creativity in this one, because I think that we need accountability, because I'm fine with Super Bowl predictions on August the 3rd just as long as the person making the predictions is fine with being held accountable later on, so these words don't just evaporate into the air.
Well, dude, I've said that before. I wish there was an ombudsman for our show. I would hire somebody if we had that kind of budget to do nothing but call us right and wrong on every opinion that we have and actually tally that thing up, and there actually be punishments for being wrong. So I'm fine, more than fine, being accountable. I may be the only one in the world that ends up saying this from a media standpoint about the Titans, but I just got to go with my feeling. That's what I'm paid to do, and I'm saying the Titans are going to win the Super Bowl.
There it is, 6 to 10 a.m., J. Martin Ramon. Thank you, buddy.
Yes, brother.
Oh, goodness, we're going to have some fun with this today. 615-737-1045. What should the punishment be for a Super Bowl prediction, an incorrect Super Bowl prediction on August the 3rd? Also, what is keeping this team from achieving that kind of a goal? What is holding them back? Because it's fine to like all of the moves as Jason Martin has just described them. It's fine to feel confident about the work that this team, this organization did to retool it as we, well, I can't talk about what I just saw in front of me because it's happening on the third field and practice is ongoing right now.
How painful is this?
It stinks.
It's great that they're playing in front of you so you can see what's happening, but it's almost worse because you literally can't mention it and you have a microphone in your face.
I know this is really hard for me to do because I'm watching all kind of spectacular athletic plays out here, but I can't say it. It's really, I'm gonna go ahead and give myself a pat on the back for not having done it yet, because this is really, really difficult for me to be able to hold, to practice restraint about watching football practice and seeing things that catch my attention and having to wait till 11:15 to tell you about all of the things that I'm watching right now. 615-737-1045. Jeremy is in Nashville. He wants to talk about what's keeping the Titans from a Super Bowl. What's up, Jeremy? Good morning.
I just wanted to say I've been on the same page as J-Mart for the past 2 weeks. The changes that they're making, I feel the swing coming too. It's their time this year. I really believe that. And I take the punishment with him. So whatever you guys come up with is a fitting for a August 3rd punishment.
Yeah.
Sign me up with it, because I'm on board with them.
Hang with me, Jeremy. What was there one thing that was the tipping point for you, or are you just looking at body of work at this point after the last couple of months?
Over just the past few seasons, with what J-Rob has done, bringing in guys and moving pieces around, and he's made aggressive moves. And, the whole thing about J.J. Watt making Bud Dupree, yeah, J.J. Watt's great and all that, but we got Jeff Simmons. You don't think that he's not going to be able to have the same opportunities to make the same kind of plays behind Jeffrey Simmons and the rest of these guys that we got on this defense? I think they are going to turn heads this year.
I like that. 615-737-1045. Look at Titans fans out here saying with their chest.
Yes. T.J. Watt, though. T.J. Watt.
Oh, well, I mean,
but I get what he was saying.
I wanted to make J.J. Watt jokes when Jayon Brown was sitting down with us yesterday because Jayon's wearing the J.J. Watt arm brace on the elbow that we saw explode in Baltimore last year, which I thought I handled that pretty diplomatically because I wanted to say, talk about your elbow exploding last year in Baltimore, and I did not do that. But I wanted to make jokes about, J.J. Watt being a look at me. There are many show ponies in the NFL. J.J. Watt is the worst offender of this, and the oversized, thigh-sized elbow brace that he wears just being the latest in a long line of offenses. 615-737-1045. Are you all in on a Titans Super Bowl run right now? I'm not I'm not willing to have this I can't say I'm not willing to have this conversation on August 3rd, but I want to know if that's where people's minds are right now. Like, is that something that we're legitimately talking about? Is that something that the fan base, as Jeremy has just expressed, and Jason Martin isn't he a Broncos fan?
Yes.
Isn't that his NFL team?
He is a Broncos fan.
So, okay, he lives in Nashville, he works in Nashville, but he's not a Titans fan. He's a Broncos fan, and he's saying that he thinks this is the team to come out of the AFC and ultimately win the Super Bowl.
So does Kendrick Perkins, for what it's worth. J. Martin, Kendrick Perkins.
Did you hear? Okay, now you've played yourself, Lucas. I need you to find the audio of Kendrick Perkins on the NBA draft coverage the other night.
Oh, trying to pronounce, whose name was it? Moses Moody?
Moses Moody.
Yeah,
and
from Arkansas.
Said it, I swear to God, 7 times incorrectly before Reese Davis finally stopped him and said, Moses Moody. Just kind of spat it at him.
Mooded Moses.
So, yes, Kendrick Perkins is who I want to be our dedicated weekly Titans analyst once the season gets here, if we can find a way to make that happen. But first, we need to showcase his expertise in analysis and the talking in the art form of talking on television and on radio. We'll see if Lucas can't find that in the meantime. 615-737-1045. Corey is in Nashville. He wants to talk about something that may hold the Titans back from legitimate Super Bowl contention. Good morning, Corey.
Morning, Buck. How you doing?
Man, I'm great, brother. I got football in front of me. I got great weather behind me. It's a good day.
Excellent. So, I kind of want to echo everybody's sentiments. The energy behind this team is like, this is the first time in really like a long time that I felt like they're Super Bowl worthy. But the one thing that I feel that would hold them back is just adjusting to when King Henry gets slowed down. Because we've seen it in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago. We saw it at home against Baltimore last year. After King Henry gets slowed down, it just seems like the offense can't really adjust and doesn't have the same, same pop, same oomph. So I'll get out of your way and shout out to Moses Moody, whatever his name is.
That's a perfect way. Okay, so I want to react to what Corey had to say on the other side. But in the meantime, let's have our future Titans week-by-week in-season analyst, Kendrick Perkins of ESPN, tell us the name of Moses Moody, the basketball player out of Arkansas.
Two of the best to ever do it. When you look at Moses Moody, what he did in college.
He just keeps trying.
The best part of that is Reese Davis. Reese Davis just spitting at him. Broadcast professional. The guy who's at the top of the food chain when it comes to professionalism in speaking. Reese Davis just spitting at Kendrick Perkins. Moses Moody. Oh my God, I want him so bad to be our weekly Titans analyst. You have no idea.
We got to put in a request, just at least have him one time.
What is, by the way, what is ESPN and Kendrick Perkins? You know, he says thing on he says he's willing to say things on television, but like the only person who gets more airtime on ESPN right now than Kendrick Perkins is Stephen A. Smith.
Oh yeah, he's all over the place. He's doing NFL analysis, NBA draft analysis. Can't get enough of Kendrick Perkins over there.
I'm on J Mart's neck about making a Super Bowl prediction on August the 3rd when Kendrick Perkins did it 2 months ago and he picked the Titans.
I'm looking at him. I'm looking at him right now on this TV.
I have so much respect for that man. All right, one more for Moses Moody and then get me to break.
Do it. When you look at Moses Moody,
Need a Titans fix? Bam! Just ask Alexa to play 104.5 The Zone, your home for Titans football and the flagship for Titans radio. 104.5 The Zone.
up here on 104.5 The Zone if I sounded like I was falling down. It's because I sat down in my chair. I feel like a dog on a chain, like one of those ones you walk by in a bad part of town. You see it just hanging out on a chain in a yard by itself. That's what I feel like with my remote battery pack. I'm trying to walk down.
Like squaring up on other reporters that get near your set. Like, hey.
No, I'm just trying to get closer and closer to the practice reps during the commercial breaks. Well, I've got time to watch some stuff, and then, immediately I just feel like yank because your voice starts to fade from my ears, and I get scared because I'm getting too far away from the remote broadcast booth here that they have set up for me. And poor Greg's just sitting here. He has no control over me. I'm just running around, making a mess of things. No, we're glad to have everybody's help out here. Live from Titans training camp. So, Lucas, you were telling me something in my ear as I was walking the sidelines, or as close to the sidelines as I could get. Something's happening with the New York Giants right now. Training camp practices are everywhere. People are starting to get pissed off at one another. What's happening in New York?
Yeah, courtesy of Ralph Vacchiano of SNY, covers the Giants and the Jets. He said a full-team brawl at Giants camp with quarterback Daniel Jones somehow at the bottom of the pile. Joe Judge is absolutely livid. He's got the players lined up now to run. He goes into detail on what happened. Running back Corey Clement took a big hit at the end of a run. Evan Ingram, the tight end, retaliated, and then he got popped by former Titan Logan Ryan. And then everybody, and he said, I mean everybody, jumped in.
So Logan Ryan is instigating fights at Giants camp, it sounds like.
Yeah, Evan Ingram was the first to retaliate, and then Ryan, I think, had the move that caused the full team brawl. But yes, quarterback Daniel Jones, their franchise quarterback, at the bottom of a massive humanity of NFL football players.
That's so, at least on the practice field, I don't think I've ever seen Logan Ryan go at somebody like that, but to see him in the middle of a pile at Giants camp. So they're running 100-yard sprints right now as punishment.
Yes, they're doing 100-yard sprints. Vacchiano says everything is quiet except there's a dead silence except for Joe Judge's whistle and his expletives, ... So many expletives.
His whistle and his expletives.
So many
What
expletives.
A great tweet.
He also said Joe Judge is doing his best Herb Brooks imitation right now. If you'll remember Herb Brooks from the movie Miracle, from the Miracle on Ice team in the 80s. Said Giants players are running goal line to goal line again and again, and now back to push-ups.
How long do we think before one of them throws up in the midst of the 100-yard sprints?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, how common is this? Like, how often do you see Mike Vrabel doing something like this when he's really pissed off? Like, does this happen in the NFL like it does in college or in high school?
I'm sure coaches that do that kind of stuff don't last very long because these are
on the line
grown men, right? ESPN, Paul Hembekides had the stat this morning on Get Up that there are 14 NFL head coaches that are younger than Tom Brady right now. Oh, my bad. I just had to throw a football to somebody, and I did it with my left hand, and I looked wildly unathletic doing it. So that's what's going on for me out here. 615-737-1045. So, like, when that kind of stuff happens out here, I've never seen it get to the point where there's a full-on, like, feud with that you're talking about at Giants camp where, like, everybody's in on it and the starting quarterback's just lying at the bottom of the pile.
Can you imagine if that happened here? I mean, that can't happen, man.
No, that cannot happen. People would be, I can't talk about what's directly in front of me for another 30 minutes, so I can't get into the details just yet. But, to have the idea, just cross your mind of Ryan Tannehill at the bottom of a pile, and what's behind him is Logan Woodside and Deshaun Kaiser, and just have that hovering over your head as you peel giant bodies off of one another and find your starting quarterback in a red jersey just buried at the bottom.
Who's the Giants' backup?
Oh, God, I can't even. I have no. I think it was Colt McCoy for a hot second, right? But no, he was just back in Washington. I feel like Colt McCoy had a hot second as the Giants quarterback.
It's Mike Glennon.
No, yeah. Mike Glennon's still in the league.
Mike Glennon plays for the New York Football Giants.
Look at that. Yeah, and ask Jags fans how the Mike Glennon experience went last year. No matter what you think of Daniel Jones. 615-737-1045. When that stuff hasn't happened at training camp like what you've just described. Like, you've seen dudes get into it a little bit. You've seen some shoving. You've seen a helmet come off, like what happened with Nate Davis and T.R. Tart and Jeffrey Simmons on Saturday.
But you almost want
but not
that,
like
right?
a full-on brawl like you're talking about at Giants camp.
Like you almost want to see that edge in training camp ahead of the season, especially from guys in the trenches.
Oh no! I think the dust up. You don't even want to call it like they just got in each other's faces and then it was very, very quickly broken up. But I thought that it raised the level of energy out here substantially. They've had one, by all accounts, flat day, which was Thursday last week. The rest of it, you've seen some pretty good. You've seen them have legitimate life in training camp. But I think, if you're asking me what Mike Vrabel would do if what happened to the Giants happened to the Titans, like Mike would get in it and just throw them all off like he did. Remember watching Derek Morgan and Taylor Lewan get into it one time, and Vrabel's bigger than both of them damn near, and he's backing them down. Like you're not going to mess with him like that. If you're in training camp fighting, who's going to take a swing at him? Name one person. Zero chance. 615-737-1045. That's why Diana Rossini is out here asking him before a playoff game, if you could fight John Harbaugh and win, and this helped decide the game, would you do it, Coach? Would you do it? That kind of stuff.
Ben Bousquet in the YouTube chat is asking what would be a good Titans fight? Like if you had to pick two Titans players on the practice field.
Like two dudes to fight?
This is what this has turned into.
Listen, I love our audience. They're smarter than that. This is like having one of those questions where you ask a zookeeper, "Hey, who would win in a fight, a gorilla or a bear?" That's the level of discourse that we're having on the radio show right now. Shameful. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. 615-737-1045. The best fight? I mean,
Big Jeff would have to be involved, right?
Yeah, because he's just a freak that way.
You talk about between a lion or a bear. I guess there's your bear.
there's the bear. So who's the lion? That's spicy. Like the easy answer is one of the offensive linemen, right? Because they're just giant humans.
But I think I'd say Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but I don't. You're just asking me to project behavior onto Derrick Henry that I feel like we would never see. Like I just don't think there's under any circumstance you see Derrick Henry getting in a fight with somebody out here at training camp. As badly as we all want to see violence on football fields.
It's all hypotheticals, man. This is Titans analysis. This is what you get paid to do.
No, this is crap. This is Super Bowl predictions on August the 3rd. Get the hell out of here. 615-737-1045. When we come back, we'll give you some updates on what's happening out at Titans practice. We will also be joined by Kevin Byard at 11:15, so make sure you're sticking around for that. I want to get into as well, because we have people tweeting at us. They like Ty Hagman, who liked Jason Martin's appearance here with us earlier in the show, saying, talk to him. Jay made some really good points. He's 100% right. This is our year to do it. Is that the common refrain among Titans fans right now? Is this the kind? And listen, there's nothing wrong with optimism, but I just kind of want to diagnose why it is people feel that way. There's plenty of good reasons. Jason Martin made a great case for the Titans as legitimate Super Bowl contenders. But I would like to parse that discussion a little bit. And when people like Corey called in and talk about the one thing that's holding the Titans back from taking that next step, I think that's the way that there's nothing wrong with Jason making the prediction that he did. But I would like to kind of dive into it a little more and see if we can't draw some training camp analysis out of it. 615-737-1045. What is holding this team back from being able to legitimately compete in a Super Bowl? Now, this was something that we talked about on the install with Greg Cosell, which is the weekly podcast. There will be a new episode in your feeds, by the way, at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Make sure that you subscribe, rate, review the install with Greg Cosell of NFL Films and myself. Last week's episode, we talked about the three biggest threats to Tennessee in the AFC. And it's a common, and this was before Carson Wentz, right? So we obviously, and the Colts weren't a part of our discussion anyway, because you guys know how I feel about the Colts and the fact that they downgraded a quarterback this year in adding Carson Wentz. There is no question in my mind that the version that I saw of that player in 2020 was worse than what a washed Phillip Rivers was. Phillip Rivers helped keep them together probably better than somebody like Carson Wentz is capable of doing. That's the logic behind the way that I felt about that. And now Carson Wentz is out for any such time period as 5 to 12 weeks. By the way, do we have Vrabel on that? Because that was hilarious. yesterday. Mike Vrabel at the podium talking about he would, because we don't ask Vrabel timeline questions anymore. We have been specifically conditioned to not ask injury timeline questions. But then we got the opportunity to ask him about a timeline that the Colts put out yesterday. This was the head coach's response.
12. I know. 5 to 12.
But you guys play
I like
them
your
in 9
chances
weeks.
of being right.
You guys play them in 9 weeks. How much do you kind of keep an eye on
Well,
that?
that falls right in the middle of it, doesn't it? I don't know. They're going to have whatever they're going to do. Got a lot of respect for Frank and his football team and that organization. We'll figure that out when it comes, whenever that happens. But we got a lot of work to put in, before we get there.
Titans head coach Mike Vrabel at the podium yesterday talking about Carson Wentz. The 5 to 12 timeline, pretty good one. 615-737-1045 is the number that you dial. When we come back, we will talk more about Titans training camp practice because we're live out here today, courtesy of our friends at Two Rivers Ford. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
The 3HL, by any means necessary.
By any means necessary. Defense, scoring, taking people out, whatever it is, it's on. You got to win, and it's going down.
The 3HL with Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, and Ron Slay. This afternoon starting at 3, 104.5 The Zone.
going crazy sitting down. But
yeah, you're in the shot.
Am I in the shot on Zone TV?
Yeah.
Well, then, this is perfect. I need a little sun anyway. If you want to get involved with the show, 615-737-1045 is the number. 615-737-1045 is how you let your opinions be known. Now, I know we've got Omar who's been waiting patiently. We'll get to him here in just a second. Remember, Kevin Byard is going to join us at 11:15. Titans practice has just concluded. Now, nothing quite as crazy as what happened in New York apparently today with the entire team getting in a full-on brawl. Lucas, you have an update? I hear Logan Ryan gave his thoughts. He was in the middle of the scrum.
Oh, well, not to the media, but he was chirping at Evan Ingram. Logan Ryan, Puka tagged us in this tweet. Puka always helping us out. Yeah. Logan Ryan said, according to Wesley Steinberg, a Giants reporter, to Evan Ingram, "Where's this passion during games, Butterfingers?" And that allegedly sparked the bust up in a way.
Butterfingers.
Where's this passion during games, Butterfingers?
Oh,
that's
spicy.
Right. And our guy Brett Batchelor, digital producer here at the Zone, texted me, and he said this actually happened yesterday. Joe Judge made the defense and defensive coaches run during camp because of a substitution error.
Hey, you know what? I like Joe Judge. Didn't Joe Judge take a swing at his offensive line coach? Wasn't that him? Yeah, he got there was a report last year that the Giants had an offensive line coach leave, and it was reported that Joe Judge got in a fight with him or threatened to fight him because Joe Judge appears to be a bit of a crazy person.
But
so
making his coaches run?
That's what I'm saying. This guy is clearly, this is the Belichick stuff, right? When you think you're Belichick until you're not Belichick, which he has decidedly not been Bill Belichick. 615-737-1045. Omar is first up here on 1045 The Zone before Kevin Byard, Titans safety, gets ready to join us live here at training camp. What's up, Omar?
Hey, how you doing, bud? Good morning, good day. I just wanted to come on here and say that I do agree that this is our time to hit. And the reason being is I think that John Robinson is going to hit like how he has hit these past couple of years, with some late round draft picks that pan out to play some type of a role. I think that whether if it's Monty Rice, whether if it's, Elijah Molden or even if Caleb Farley end up panning out to be the best corner out of the whole draft, if something, I feel like one of those things, if it happens, I feel like we will win the Super Bowl this year.
No, I think there's a great many things that go into that kind of recipe, right? And we're having this conversation because Jason Martin on August the 3rd picked the Titans to win the Super Bowl, and we have been, having some fun with Jason. Of course, we love our buddy Jason. And Ramon and Schaefer in the morning is as cruel as Schaefer can sometimes be on the internet with puppy gifts. It is one of the greatest. He is my nemesis in that regard. But, I just found it a little bit silly that we were having this conversation in August in the second week of training camp. Now, the case that he made, I understand. And if you want, I'm not, Jason Martin is by no means required to follow our practices and protocols about Super Bowl predictions. They have their own radio show for a reason. They may do what they like, but I'm just, trying to figure out, okay, why is he thinking this way right now? Like what has changed in a way that he said he's been stopping himself from saying this for a couple of weeks, apparently. And, I understand the case that he made. Now, late round draft picks, talking about Monty Rice, by the way, there's a little bit of dust up at the end of practice with Monty Rice. I didn't see who he got into it. Will, did you? Not great for dead air. I forget that I don't have a microphone in front of Will. Who was it?
David Long was in there, but I didn't see who was
Yeah, Monty Rice. Well, there was a couple of dust-ups at the end of practice, but nothing crazy. Nothing like the Giants. But, yeah, it would be funny to watch. I mean, listen, Vrabel and LaFleur had a little bit of it. No, I never saw Mike make him run sprints.
Get on the line, Matt. Like the future coach of the Green Bay Packers runs sprints.
That's right. It felt like it was heading that direction, though, that first training camp that we were all together. Because remember, at that point, we were still trying to figure out, who Vrabel was. And this was after, the opening press conference where he just got in our grills a little bit about taking pictures of new imagery in the team meeting room. And then there was this big dialogue about, well, they're not going to be taking pictures of what's in the guys' lockers and all this stuff. It just became a whole deal. But yeah, there was a little bit of that dynamic during that first training camp under Mike Vrabel, and Matt LaFleur is the offensive coordinator. But, you know, I understand what Omar's saying. I look at this ultimately and I say until they can find a proven solution on special teams, and that's not just kicking. Kicking is a critical part of this, of course, but the issues that plagued them last year were not as much about the field goal kicking itself, although, of course, they did struggle in several games. Gostkowski in week 1, probably the most cruel way to watch a dude join a new team after 14 or 13 years with a Super Bowl winning organization and being one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history, and just watching it evaporate because he missed, I think, three field goal attempts and an extra point in that game. It was a disaster watching it. Deshaun Kaiser, by the way, it looked like he might have banged his hand up on a throw at the end of practice. Something to keep an eye on, and we'll see. We'll continue to update you on things like that. Julio Jones was not out here today. Saw Fred Brown make a nice catch in the back of the end zone. I think that was the one that I had to stop myself from telling you what it was live when they were sitting directly in front of me. And a lot of good plays, a lot of good throws from Tannehill on the move today, scrambling out of the pocket. He zipped a really, really clean pass right into Darrington Evans in the back left corner of the end zone. Kevin Byard, safety, getting ready to join us here at the desk on 104.5 The Zone. They finished their stretching protocols, it seems. What's going on, KB? Good to see you, buddy. We're on the air right now, so whenever you get set up, just let me know, and we'll bring you into the conversation. And we have breaking news, Lucas. What do you got for us before we welcome Kevin Byard in?
Breaking news out of the Colts camp. This is from Mike Wells. Quentin Nelson has the same foot injury as Carson Wentz. He's scheduled to have surgery in Indy later today with the same doctor as Wentz. A similar 5 to 12 week timeline for Quentin Nelson.
All right, KB, what do you think about that?
That's definitely breaking news.
My bad.
Just came off the field.
Jayon walked over here when the Wentz thing happened yesterday, and now I got you on Quentin Nelson today. I mean,
wow.
You never want to see anybody get hurt, of course. It was a terrible situation for both of these guys, both having been great players at different points in their career. But,
correct.
I mean, to see this happening, the same foot injury, I guess that's nothing but bad luck. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I mean, when you have those foot injuries, I don't know if it's a bone or anything like that, but like you said, it's just definitely unfortunate. But obviously, the injury report was saying 5 to 12 weeks. So, I mean, he could be back week 1, week 2, or they could be back at the end of the season. So, like I said, unfortunate to see these guys get hurt. I mean, both of those guys are great competitors. We're definitely looking forward to playing those guys this year, and definitely wish for a speedy recovery.
No doubt about it. I was cracking up yesterday, though, because Vrabel does a great job of protecting you guys when something happens to anybody, whether it's a lack of a timeline or just any kind of updates on injury, because you don't want things to spiral out of control with the media. But we ended up having to ask him about the timeline that the Colts put out about Wentz yesterday.
And I think it's kind of the similar situation. Like, I mean, I haven't heard of an injury with that big of a time frame.
Right.
So, I mean, who knows? Like I said, we kind of just worry about what we're doing right now in training camp, trying to build this foundation against any opponent. Right, if it's the Colts, obviously we want to win the division, of course, again. But like I said, it's just unfortunate to see an injury go down, especially this early in training camp.
No question. Titans safety Kevin Byard here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Appreciate him taking some time. So let's talk about what you guys are doing out here. I have enjoyed training camp practice, maybe just because things are starting to feel normal.
Absolutely.
Again, and I'm sure this is the same way for you guys, where there's things that were taken for granted before last year that you didn't have, and it ends up snowballing in a way that makes you realize how much fun this can be once we're all back out here and doing the things that we normally like to do and the things that you guys are normally doing. How has it been to acclimate with a lot of new pieces out there through this, not even 2 weeks yet? I know it's early.
I mean, it's been super fun, honestly. I mean, I've talked about it before, having Jack Rabbit, Janoris Jenkins, Elijah Molden, Caleb Farley's out here practicing as well. It's just fun being out here with the guys, running around, making plays. Obviously, it's good to have the media out here. We didn't have you guys out here last year.
Now, you don't gotta patronize. It's all right. I appreciate that. That's kind of you. Yeah. I appreciate that.
But no, it's been great, man. Honestly, I feel like the defense, we're practicing with a lot of swagger, a lot of confidence, a lot of energy out here. We obviously know last year wasn't good enough. And so coming in this year, we're really putting the overemphasis on making sure that we're being super detailed and just making sure we're out here just challenging guys. Because at the end of the day, I've talked about it, numerous amount of times. The communication wasn't great last year. But, you really start to understand that this league is all about matchups. And you got to go out there and win your one-on-one matchups. And I think that's the main thing we're discussing. Like, if you got a guy one-on-one, whether it's man or whatever, your matchups, just win your one-on-ones and let the rest handle itself.
Yeah, and it takes all 11 of you guys out there on the field at once. I think people are very quick, whether Shane Bowen coming under some heat. I know you got a little bit of heat on social media last year. Is that something, because you handled that, not everybody would handle that with as much grace and class as you did, and understanding that there were a number of different things that caused the product that we ended up seeing on the field in 2020. How big of a difference, though, was it to have this offseason in particular where Vrabel seemed to be emphasizing with you guys third down packages specifically, the communication that you're trying to establish, given that you guys have so many new dudes?
Yeah, I mean, I think just even last year, I'm not a guy that's going to make any type of excuses, and I'm not a guy that's going to point the finger. I'm always going to point the finger at myself to figure out what can I have done better to make more plays for this defense and be a leader. And then I'll look to outside sources, but I'm always looking at myself first. And like I said, I mean, just having new guys in here, I mean, we all know the guys that we let go in this offseason, a lot of guys in the secondary. I mean, it's kind of humbling to be a guy, you know, kind of looking around and seeing that you're the last guy left. So this offseason, I kind of really reset my mind mentally. Obviously, I'm always going to work physically, but reset my mind mentally and just humble myself and down and be like, okay, start it all over. Go back to when you was in your first year and your second year. Go out here and try to be as hungry, bring as much energy to the group, and try to be the best leader as I possibly can, leading by example, but also being vocal.
Yeah, the Will Smith gif in the empty room after all that stuff was happening during the offseason was well played. It was well done by you. So I guess, you know, that's it. You make it sound so easy to be able to compartmentalize something like that, but that's the first time that anything like this has happened to you in your career. Is there a certain kind of approach, and I'm sure this has been developed over many years playing football and understanding the mindset that you need to have to be able to do this job, but this offseason in particular, was there anything that you looked to and tried to find a way to focus yourself that was anything different than what you've done previously, like a different approach that you've taken with how to compartmentalize some of the things that we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this offseason just last year, this was all new for me. Ever since I was in college, you know, I've always had a good year. For myself, I always feel like I always had a good year, and last year I did not play up to my standards. You know, I don't really look at, you know, obviously you see the media and stuff, but I always look at myself like, did I play up to my standards? And no, I did not last year. So it was definitely new to me, and obviously seeing guys get cut just kind of made me realize, like, okay, I just got to go back into my mind. I did a lot of meditation. I always do yoga and Pilates, but I was doing a lot of meditation because, you know, I got, you know, 2 babies at the house, new family.
When do you have time to do the meditation?
Early in the morning. Like, as soon as I wake up, I get up, I started doing something different. I stopped checking my phone because, you know, normally guys wake up, roll over, check their phones. I stopped doing that. I got up in the morning, went over to my little sitting room, my bedroom, and I meditate for like 10 minutes. It don't have to be that long, but just to reset my mind, to get focused on the day. And whatever I had to accomplish, I just focused on, you know, one bit at a time. Whether if it was waking up, you know, I'm juicing in the morning, so I drink a little juice, my fruit juice. Going on to a workout, just focusing on every little part of the day kind of helped me reset my mind on, you know, the things that are really important. And priorities change. As I get older, priorities change, and I really just try to, you know, set things in place where I can just really be focused on one task at a time and not getting caught up with the anxiety of thinking about 100 things at one time. That's kind of how I compartmentalize.
I guess you've just told me how to do that because I'm listening to you talk. I'm like, how the hell does somebody do something like this? It sounds crazy to me.
Yeah.
Titan safety Kevin Byard here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Now, something you seem to be out there and engaging Titans fans a lot. And I know you do that every year, but certainly with things like inviting a Titans fan out to come work out with you. Now, how much, I mean, be honest with me, because I work with Ramon Foster, who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, talk to a lot of guys on a regular basis. I heard so many, thank God he did that for the rest of us, to show people just how different it is what we do compared to what people think that they can do.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a fun deal. Kind of came up with it just on social media, just thinking about, you know, if I bring a guy here to work out, you know, just record. It just started as fun. Just to have a guy out there working out with me, because at the end of the day, you know, there are a lot of Twitter general managers out here, a lot of guys that don't really watch football like that, but they think they can coach the game, or they know how to set a roster and build a championship roster, but it's not that easy. So that was just a little experiment of showing people, obviously, you know, it's not easy to work out with a Titans player. You know, it's not easy to go out here and do the drills that we do. I mean, a lot of these guys work almost year-round, working on their craft, working on their body. But it was just something fun. I mean, honestly, I probably would continue to do it. Probably won't be during the season, but next off season, I might just, make a little contest or something
Oh,
like
no,
that.
we need it for social media content. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. And I might bring multiple guys out there. It just depends. But I just like having fun with social media. I wasn't trying to make fun of anybody that couldn't work out or whatever. It really was just a fun deal. Kind of went viral on social media, so I think I'll keep it going.
No, I did. I played softball for the first time this offseason in a game at the Sounds Park, and it just I realized how, as somebody who sits here and talks critically about professional athletes, how bad I am at just little things like trying to run to first base.
You woke up sore the next morning.
Oh, just so embarrassing. Like, I could not be more of ashamed of myself.
Yeah.
Titan safety Kevin Byard here with us on 104.5 The Zone. You've been a part of this community for a long time now, obviously spending time out in Murfreesboro at MTSU. I saw you got the key to the city, by the way. Congratulations. Now officially the mayor of Murfreesboro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool to see that take place. But this weekend, and I'm sorry that I was not in town to come out for the announcement that the safe room that you guys have been renovating for children entering foster care, and the importance of what something like that means to such a, the trauma that people in that particular situation experience. Why? And I know it's not the only thing that you've done this offseason. I want to get to a couple of different things. But why was that something that was important to you and your family to be able to work that through as a part of your Byard Family Legacy Fund?
Well, first and foremost, I've had family that's been affected by being in foster care. So I do definitely know the effects that it can have as far as childhood trauma that people carry on into their adult ages, especially if they don't get the correct therapy for it. It actually started with, they actually reached out to me because they wanted me to speak at their high school graduation. They was having a high school graduation ceremony for the kids that was graduating. So me and my wife actually visited the facility, and it actually was my wife, and that's why even during my interview I gave her 100% of the credit because, it really touched her in a way to see, the facility and just hearing the stories about, sometimes kids can be, a woman could be giving birth, in the hospital room that may be dealing with some substance abuse and things like that, and it may take the baby from her. And a lot of times where, a foster care family, they might not be able to place a child in the foster care family right then and there, so they might have to spend the night, multiple nights in the same place. They don't really, I guess according to state laws, they're not allowed to have like an actual full kitchen, like a stove. So they just had a lot of snacks in there, a lot of, I wouldn't say unhealthy foods, but nothing that would really fill them up. So my wife just got to talk and say, man, you know how incredible it would be to renovate their space. And we didn't tell them at first. We kind of kept it a surprise. And we ended up getting a lot of help from our sponsors at Walmart, Lowe's, Campbell's also helped and donate a bunch of cans of chunky chicken noodles and all the different stuff that they have. It was just a special moment, honestly. And the lady who runs the place, Shativa, she's incredible. She does a lot of work. We renovated her office as well. So like I said, it was just a special moment for us to be able to give some grace that God has given us and our family, just be able to pass it on down. So just a special moment for me and my family.
Now, I see the tweet a lot from you. It's a blessing to be a blessing. And I know that you're somebody, and Clark is clearly somebody who takes this to heart. But is that something that you learned from your family dynamic? Is that something that a teammate taught you along the way? Or is it a combination? Like, where did you get that inspiration? Because that's not necessarily easy to come by. And plenty of people feel that way,
correct,
but then don't actually go through executing it the way that you've done.
Yeah, I just think it's just a lifelong experiences, just really coming to realization that, my life wasn't, I didn't have a straight line to success. I had to go through a lot of different things in my childhood and just in my life. So to be here, I can't do nothing but thank God. And I think it's just my way of paying it forward to say, hey, God has blessed me so much in my life. I have a lot of different obstacles that I had to navigate to my road to this place. It's only right for me to do that. And I feel like just in my heart, I wouldn't feel right if I'm not giving back as much as I am. So, and it really has nothing to do with, playing the politics and doing all this stuff just to show and face. No, honestly, this is something that I really feel strongly about. My wife does too, and that's why we started our foundation. So no matter where my feet is in this earth, I'm going to try to do something to help, the people that's in need in that area. So that's just who I am personally. It wasn't necessarily, somebody that talked to me, hey, say give back. It's just something I just feel in my heart.
Where can people go to donate to the kind of work that you guys are doing?
Yeah, you can go to my website at my family's foundation website at ByardFamilyLegacy.org. We have all our information from our calendars, the different events that we're going to host throughout the year. We have our Thanksgiving coming up later in the year and our Christmas stuff. And then twice a year, we give away a Grace Grant. And so obviously the Children's Services was getting the first Grace Grant. And hopefully the end of the year, we'll be giving another one. So like I said, man, it's just something that's just special to me. And I just think that I just always give the credit to my wife because, she has a lot of things going on from obviously raising the kids and the different stuff that she's into, her responsibilities. She does so great with our foundation, and just a blessing.
I'm going to ask you one more question because the people are screaming at me on Twitter because I haven't asked you about Caleb Farley yet. Okay. He's out here for the first couple days of his practice. I know he's been in the building. He's been working with you guys. What are your impressions of the rookie so far?
I mean, I'm impressed with him, honestly. He just has a great attitude. Obviously, he hasn't been able to practice fully yet, but just in the meeting rooms, he's smart. He's answering all the right questions. I mean, the guy's hilarious. But when it's time to work, he knows how to work.
I heard he's got good rap skills.
He does. It actually shocked me. So in OTAs, he wrote a rap. He was kind of he was freestyling too, getting on the coaches a little bit, which was hilarious. And then just a couple days ago, just in our on our team meet, we called the rookies out, make them sing or do whatever. The man came up with a notebook. He had wrote a whole 16 bars. I was like, okay, this guy's pretty impressive. So
wait, is this the man to bring back? Because the thing I miss from the locker room, from being in your all's locker room the most, is Freestyle Fridays.
Absolutely.
Freestyle Fridays need to make a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, if depending on how this thing goes throughout the year, man,
0% chance we're back in there with you guys.
Well, hopefully we might bring the speakers out here, man. See if we can bust a freestyle for the media, man. We might do it as a rookie prank, man. He got to bust a freestyle for the media.
No question. At Kevin Byard is where you can follow Titan safety Kevin Byard. Make sure that you check out what the great work that he and his wife Clark and his family are doing to support those less fortunate. I always appreciate catching up with you, KB. It's good to be able to see you and do one of these.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, we will come back. Mike Vrabel will be at the podium. We'll carry that press conference live for you. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Stream Titans opinion on all your devices. It's the 104.5 The Zone app. Your home for Titans football and the flagship for Titans radio. 104.5 The Zone.
Score a major payday with BetMGM. Hey guys, it's Lucas Panzica. It's the best time to sign up for the king of sportsbooks because they're giving new customers a shot at an easy $100. Register using code LUCAS100 and win $100 in free bets when you place a $1 moneyline wager on the Braves or the Cardinals and either team hits a home run. Whether you're raising the stakes on baseball or wagering on your favorite soccer team, BetMGM is always ready for action. Enjoy innovative parlay selection builders, daily promotions, boosted odds specials, and more. Download the app or go to BetMGM.com and use code LUCAS100 to win $100 when you bet $1 on the Braves or Cardinals and either team hits a home run. Only at BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. New customer offer, paid in free bets. Must be 21 years or older. Must
Patrick versus Elijah Molden, I think was the one that and I'm pretty sure Will Bowling tweeted it out on 1045 The Zone's Twitter account. If you want to check out some of that footage for yourself, they're creating great content on all the social channels at The Zone, and my teammates at A to Z Sports doing a great job as well. But the open field tackling drills are something that it's good to see back in our lives. The offensive line, the defensive line, tight ends, run blocking scheme, it felt more like you feel like you're getting a better picture of what this football team is supposed to look like. And frankly, the defense was dominant today. Jeffrey, there was a play where they're running run plays in the end zone closest to me out here on the third field. And they're running, if it's my left, then it's the offense's right. So they're running off the right side. And you just see Jeffrey Simmons blow up the run play, and Ben Jones, who is turning to, I guess, kind of reach block across the defensive lineman, just hits the side of Jeffrey Simmons and falls over. Like it looked like Ben Jones just found a wall of humanity that straight took him out. But it's been good to see that kind of physicality and, a little bit of dust-ups, a little bit of energy as well. We're now officially in 2 weeks of camp, and something that's going to continue to pop up is how these guys manage the fatigue, how these guys manage themselves physically and emotionally, because it is emotional to be out here in the middle of the hot sun, even though this week has been fantastic. Hopefully it stays that way as we continue forward, but I'm certain that's not going to be the case, and Tampa is on the horizon with just 100% humidity. Just going to feel like you're drowning out there when the Titans have joint practices with the Bucs. But to hear Bayard's observations on Jackrabbit and on Caleb Farley, who's now through 2 days of practice with his team, out on the fields at least, I think has been really telling. Now, this was something that I watched with, and I don't know how much I talked about what I watched with Coach Mack of Titans Radio yesterday when we first got out there on the practice field to see what Caleb Farley. This is how bad it's getting. I'm talking in too many places. I'm doing too many radio shows. I'm doing too many streaming shows. I'm doing too many podcasts, so I forget what I'm saying at any given point. But did we talk yesterday about Caleb Farley with Coach Mack, what we were observing on the practice fields beforehand? Because I legitimately can't remember.
No, we did not.
Okay, good. That's important. Because Mack, the way that he has us set up, and he joins us, of course, every Friday at 12:20, the best in the business from Titans Radio, he sits and watches from behind the practice field, behind the defense, and he sits right at the film towers that they have placed around there's probably 3 or 4 film towers that are around the practice field that are receiving live images, live video from practice that they have camera guys placed around all the practice field so they can keep track of these reps in real time and the stuff that they watch in their meeting rooms on what they've just been working on. So Coach Mack will watch this stuff from behind the defense and with the film tower in front of him so he can watch the rep live and then watch it back on film. So he's basically watching film in real time. So we're going over Caleb Farley yesterday, and the thing, of course, that pops about Caleb Farley is his length, how tall he is. Now, 6'2" is above average height, I would say, but certainly among defensive backs. 6'2" is 6'2". There's a noticeable difference in size, in length at least, with Caleb Farley and the rest of these guys. The length is not what makes Caleb Farley uncommon. It's the length with the ability to move the way that he does, with the hips of somebody who's much smaller than he is, with the gracefulness of somebody who's much smaller than he is, that Mack was pointing out to me, kind of watching the fluidity of his hips, the motions that he's making as he changes direction, as he works through the drills, as he goes through, trying to the tip drill interception. I tweeted out his first rep, and he missed an interception. They're doing tip drill, easy for me to say, tip drill interceptions before practice yesterday. And for Caleb Farley, he lets the first one go off his hands, and then everybody makes a big deal out of it because Twitter lacks any nuance whatsoever. But then the way that he finished through that rep, didn't make a scene, went back in line, did the exact same thing, did it correctly this time, and the way that he immediately went over to the coaches after the drill was done to learn from them, and then taking time with Jackrabbit, who is going to be, I contend, even at his advanced age, 32 years old, maybe not advanced age for a normal human being, but for a football player, that's for most guys, it's the end. But that's not the case for Janoris Jenkins. Jackrabbit is probably, and I know Kevin Byard has spoken to this before and spoke with us a little about this in the previous segment, how I'm laughing because I'm looking at tweets in real time and they're tweeting out quotes from Rashaan Evans. He just called Julio Jones a mythical creature, which is a tremendous quote. Maybe we'll bring that back for you on the other side. Rashaan Evans currently at the podium. Defensive coordinator Shane Bowen is going to speak to the media later today, by the way, so we'll carry that press conference for you live coming up next. But the way that Jackrabbit, who I think is going to be one of their most important defensive players, not just because of what he can do at corner and the fact that his game has not taken a step back. There is nothing to indicate, based on what you watch from him in New Orleans and what you see out on the practice field, that this is a player that is at the end of his career. Coach Mack, while we're watching Caleb Farley, is pointing out these things that Jackrabbit Jenkins is working with Farley on. Because Coach Mack, of course, was a part of the staff in St. Louis that scouted Janoris Jenkins and that drafted Janoris Jenkins with Coach Jeff Fisher during their time with the Rams. So he's walking me through all these little nuanced things that you see Jackrabbit doing, whether it's a hand motion, whether it's a specific call, the check that they're calling out as they're working red zone coverages, just walking through them, not with any offense going against them, just kind of walking through the coverages, using practice squad guys and the rest of the camp bodies as the offensive players so that they can see, when they make the call, where the rookies drift back into the correct coverage, whether they man up when the checks are called, and the kind of hand motions that a veteran player like Jackrabbit is making to indicate that to the rest of the team. To watch the dynamic between Farley and Jackrabbit, and to watch the way that Farley seems to be not just willing to take coaching, but seeking the coaching out from his coaches and from the players who are veterans on the field, I think is something that is going to remain a critical part of this and really an important part of this. Something that if you're looking for any kind of growth or any kind of indicator that this is somebody through 2 practices who is going to be capable of having success, not knowing what he's going to look like out on a football field yet, not knowing what it's going to be like when the lights go on in the stadiums. We hope, knock on wood, are packed. As long as this, I saw some very concerning COVID stats this morning from the Tennessee Department of Health that make me nervous about the season, about being able to have a normal season like I think we all anticipate doing. Hopefully, we find a way to keep that thing in check because that hovers over everything at this point. But ultimately, I think if you're looking for indicators that Caleb Farley can have success, being so early on, that's the kind of stuff that you're looking for. That's the kind of thing that I think shows promise, shows the kind of willingness that Mike Vrabel and John Robinson spoke to when they drafted him. We're seeing that play out on the field, the want to learn. And then you have Elijah Molden, his fellow rookie, who's as prepared as any player out here. So much so that in the pre-draft process, he was doing research on the Titans defense. And in fact said when we had him on, I think the week that he got drafted, I'm pretty sure we had him on the Monday after he got drafted, where he's saying, the Titans defense is the one that I did the most work on because that was the one that I felt would be the best fit. Rashaan Evans has just concluded his time at the podium, so we expect defensive coordinator Shane Bowen to be up next when after Rashaan makes his way off. So we will come back with Shane Bowen live at the podium here at St. Thomas Sports Park. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Coming up today on the 3HL.
It's the first day of pads, and I got Jim Wyatt to talk Titans.
The pads are on. I'm going to bring mine. I'm going to wear mine. Alan Bell talks sports betting.
And Titan safety Amani Hooker takes a break from picking off passes to spend some time with us.
I mean, why wouldn't he?
I would.
Today, starting at 3 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
the same page, right? And now I can immediately walk in the linebacker room and say, hey, right? So everybody sees things the same ways. We're communicating things the same way. So I think that's been a tremendous asset, being able to bounce room to room. Also being able to understand and make sure, like, we're getting coached what we want coached, right? Like, that's part of it. Like, I want to make sure they're hearing what we want. And then when we go in the unit room, they better be able to spit it back. And I know they got that covered, right? And then obviously out in the field, just being able to touch all those guys. But I think building the relationships with the guys, like, that's a big part of it. That last year I don't think was there, where I think this year it's growing, and that's becoming a bigger piece for me.
John just said that you guys feel more comfortable with you in year 2. The fact that your role was actually clearly defined this offseason, do you think that the roles?
Yes, absolutely. I do. I think it's helped. I think just with everybody, with the coaching staff, with the players, I think it's been good up to this point. They kind of understand where the buck stops, and it is what it is. So I'm excited the ways these guys are going about working right now and kind of what we're trying to get accomplished on defense.
Sports involved here on practice, and obviously Coach Rabel, yourself. How is that whole synergy going? I know it's something that you talked about before camp.
Yeah, man, it's been great having Schwartz here. It really has worked for me as things go. Obviously, Mike, he knows it all, right? So I can always turn to him. But Schwartz has been great. Like, anything that comes up, we talk through everything. We go through kind of our plan for different scenarios. I think as we get more into even situations and some of that type of stuff, his experience with some of that stuff is going to pay dividends too. But I'm super excited he's here. Like, he's been a great asset to me so far up to this point, and I expect that to continue.
It seems to be a pretty solid plug and play for you guys right now. I mean,
I mean, he's familiar, like, with the system. Obviously, we had him in Houston. He's about what we're about. Like, he's tough. He plays hard. He's going to play with technique. That's how he's made his career so long. And he's, like I said, he's familiar with us too, right? As people, like, I know John back to Ohio State just like Mike in 2012. So there's some familiarity there just with our personalities, who we are, and I think he really fits what we're trying to get across in terms of our culture defensively and as a team.
What have you seen from Caleb Farley since he's been with the team, and what's the process like of trying to incorporate him more into what you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, man, it's good to see him out here actually doing something finally. I mean, we'll see. And whenever he can get back in there, we'll see how it goes. But he's been engaged in meetings. I think he's soaking everything up. I think Jackrabbit has helped him tremendously in that regard. He's always in his ear, teaching, coaching, giving him pointers and different things. I mean, time will tell. He's got to get out here and go. Like, we're doing drills right now, and that's great. But when he has to line up across from somebody and actually cover him, we'll kind of see what it is.
Have AJ and Julio out there. Receivers are only getting bigger in the league. Does that make a guy like Caleb that much more valuable?
Absolutely. I think if you can match the size and that type of length and that type of skill set, I think it's rare. And if you have a guy like that, you obviously aren't as concerned with the size matchup down the field and those down the field throws.
More penetration are you looking for from your interior line than you got last year? What's the key to maybe being a two-way player there in terms of clogging things up for the run, but also being able to close the pocket?
Yeah, I think that group right now is making big points. It is. Guys got to know what they do well in that position, right? Like, I'm a run stopper and my transition is this, or I'm a pass rusher and I got to focus on this in the run game, right? Like, every guy is different with their skill set, even down there. Like, a nose is dramatically different than a three technique, right? And I think the biggest thing down there is knowing your skill set and using it to your advantage. Because, like, Coley, for instance, he's dramatically different than Tierre Tart, right? Like, so there's a lot of different skill sets, and those guys understanding who they are in both the run game and as rushers, I think that
U.S. position versatility. We saw him play some on the edge in Indianapolis.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's why he's here, to add value in a lot of different ways for us. Obviously, on third down, the flexibility to move inside and do some of that, have a bigger body, which we really haven't had in the past at times. And then to be able to play first, second, inside at times, like, he's a valuable piece because he does have that versatility.
A lot of the defensive players have talked about having a chip on their shoulder with the way last season went. I mean, how much do you, I guess, encourage that without harping on last year too much?
Yeah, I think you got to learn from last year. I do. I think in the off season we evaluate it and we come back to them with a plan on ways to improve. I think now that we're kind of into 2021, like it's areas of emphasis for us. Like it's not about last year, it's about this year. We got to make sure like third down, red zone, all the turnovers continue, right? Like we make sure we emphasize those things. But like last year's over, like we're a new team. We got a lot of new pieces. Like half the guys in our defensive room weren't here last year, right? But understanding as a unit that, hey, these are areas we struggled with. Like we're going to make a big emphasis on this early on. Like we got to be better here, because if we're better here, it's going to carry over to be better throughout a lot of different areas defensively.
How much different is the practice experience for you this year compared to last year when you were working in individual drills, and how do you kind of try to divide your time up?
Yeah, man, I like it a lot now, being able to bounce around, hear the different things the coaches are teaching them, see the guys go through, holding them accountable to making sure they make every rep count. We only have so much individual time to develop that technique and fundamentals, so holding those guys accountable to making sure they're making each rep count. But I relationships too, making sure they see me, watching them, see me over there. Like it's not just me in a meeting room telling them to, hey, on this play you do this. Like there's a lot more that goes into it.
Happened on third down last year, as you said. Has that been as much emphasis as you can remember on a particular situation so far in camp?
Yeah, I would say up to this point, like we've gotten some third down work these past couple of days. We've gotten some red zone work throughout as we've started here, and both those have been major emphasis for us. And I think just the technique and fundamentals and being square and understanding the down and distance, right? Like understanding all the little things that go into every situation. First and foremost, before the ball's even snapped, I tell them all the time, like, if we can be 100% before the ball snap, like, then they got to beat us, right? Like, and too many times last year, we weren't ready to go, right? Like, we got to be set. We got to be ready to rock and roll. And we got to make them beat us. We got to be coordinated what we're doing. Like, if we can handle our business before the ball snap, the onus falls on them. All right.
Titans DC, Shane Bowen, wrapping up at the podium there live from St. Thomas Sports Park. We'll come back and react to what he had to say. There was a lot of good, interesting nuggets about how big a difference just having that role as defensive coordinator defined has made for him this year. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Witness the passion that unites us all.
Touchdown, Tennessee! Wow!
The Vols play here.
104.5 The Zone.
This is Damon Amendolara with a CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by DoorDash. DoorDash makes back-to-school shopping easy. Download the DoorDash app today. Kyle Lowry is a nice piece. He's an NBA champion, one of the better point guards in the league, and makes a playoff team even better. But are the Heat now a contender for a title? No. They're still not better than a healthy Nets team. They don't have a player as dominant as Giannis or Embiid.
Training camp day 6. It's in the books. We're very excited to have you guys here for the final hour before we turn things over to Blaine and Mickey, who are back in studio, I saw yesterday. Very exciting stuff. If you want to get involved with the show, despite the lawnmowers in the background, 615-737-1045 is how you do that. That chuckle, that guffaw that you hear on the microphone opposite me is Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio, the best in the business. Big dog, how we living?
Good, man. The Weather Chamber of Commerce ordered up a couple of great days in a row for weather for your show out here.
Thank you.
Practice. It is fantastic. A great day for the first day of pads for the Titans in practice. And as we are continuing to see it, looks like the AFC South is crumbling around them.
My God.
I mean, I saw Deshaun Watson was not in pads and not suited up today in Houston.
Yeah.
And then you have Quentin Nelson, arguably the best guard in the league, with the exact same foot injury and problem as Carson Wentz, and will have to undergo surgery and technically be out for the same kind of guesstimated window
5 to 12 weeks.
Now, if this is Coach Mack talking, he'd say, look, I don't care, Rhett. Let's do they can come back after week 8 because the Titans will be done with both of them by Halloween. But Chris Ballard, their general manager's got to be pulling his hair out.
And
it's crazy.
After he's done such a good job to put them in a position to not only have a competitive roster this year, or they think have a competitive roster this year. I have my doubts about Carson Wentz pre-foot, and also save their money without overextending themselves in free agency because they had a bunch of dudes to pay. Braden Smith, the right tackle, got paid. Darius Leonard has been paid. They are still, Quentin Nelson is going to be the first guard in the NFL to make north of $20 million a year.
Yep.
Pending that this foot injury does not completely derail things for the all-pro left guard. It is shocking to me, though, because, Rhett, I looked at this, a couple of years ago when Andrew Luck retired from the NFL. I was blacked out drunk at Yeehaw with Madison Blevins, and I said, because it happened it happened in the night. It was a preseason game, and he's standing on the sideline. And, I was trying to take advantage of one of our rare days off at training camp. And all of a sudden, I thought that I was seeing through blurred vision a fake Adam Schefter tweet saying Andrew Luck had retired. And I said there's no possible circumstance that the Titans could benefit more from in their division than this guy retiring from the sport, given that he had an undefeated record. Things have continued to devolve in this division around them. Not that they aren't winning games off their own merit, but, oh, my God, what the hell has happened to this division?
It is just a dumpster fire. I don't know any other way to put it. And, here's the thing about the Colts in this. I forget the young man who's the backup left tackle, but, Eric Fisher is who they got from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes.
30 years old, coming off an Achilles.
LaRaven Clark is the name that you're looking for. He is not good at professional football.
No. And there's another guy that I looked up, too, that also could be a swing tackle in that spot and not great.
Tevy from the Chargers.
That's right, Tevy from the Chargers.
I know my Colts backup tackle.
Yeah, because you're doing your homework. That's a good show host right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just amazing. But to see the Titans out here, I know we have to be careful about what we say we've seen, but the fact that Caleb Farley went an hour into practice and then went into,
on day 2.
Yeah, on day 2.
That's a big deal.
He did, stretch, individual warm-ups, that kind of stuff yesterday. The fact he went that further today, I'm encouraged by that. I like that. And this defense making plays. John Simon knows this system. Went right in here today and had an interception today.
And they've already, we await Bud Dupree, but they've already inserted Simon into the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that, and, Vrabel has been with him in several spots previously.
Go back to Ohio State days, yeah.
He understands the skill set, and John Simon has obviously been a successful role player for 8 years in the NFL. That depth at that position with Weaver and with Simon, where Roberson, who was probably their most talented depth guy last year, is sitting on the outside looking in, trying to work his way back onto the practice field. They have done to this group of edge rushers what John Robinson did to the secondary his first year, where Parrish Cox has a terrible game and he ends up getting cut right after. Things like that, where you're starting to see them really take the nuclear option with the position that plagued them the most.
Yeah, and again, it's early, but it's encouraging.
Yes.
I love seeing Danico Autry out here. Big Jeff is, in pads today and just pushing the knockback is there, just pushing people around.
Eating dudes.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure I saw Nate Davis stuck in Jeffrey Simmons' belly button earlier.
They certainly have locked horns, no doubt about it. And, Sam Ficken, the new kicker, looking pretty decent today.
It was a good day for the kickers.
Yeah. So, I know, again, we have to be careful about what we say that we have seen, but I like some things that I saw today. And, it's encouraging. It really is. And, to think that they're just a handful of days from going to Atlanta and playing the Falcons, they're taking steps, and you're seeing players take steps forward that you'd like to see. I like what I'm seeing from Christian Fulton. I like what I see from Darrington Evans,
who's getting a ton of reps right now.
Right, and both are going to be heavily counted on. This is really like year 1.2 for them, right? Because of how much time they missed in their rookie seasons and how much you can clearly see how much they've benefited from an in-person off-season where it was all virtual and you just showed up to camp and tested every day and hoped for the best. They've really, and the same can be said about a Teair Tart, who spoke a few days ago and said he's dropped 4% body fat. He went to the coaching staff and Frank Perino and said, how do we do this? I want to get better at this. So he's changed his body shape. You see Amani Hooker, how he's changed his body shape. These guys are serious. I mean, they know what they have, and the guys that were on this roster last year know that they're knocking on the door of something important.
And I'm certain there's a great many players across the league who didn't have the offseason to try and get themselves into that shape. You're going to it's good to see them take a step in the case of somebody like Teair Tart from his rookie year to now his sophomore season, but also with the benefit of an offseason workout program, of the ability to get just simply into a gym at a time this time last year when they may not have been able to, where you can't order a Peloton fast enough because they're already out of stock, and the issues with the distribution chain that continue throughout COVID. No, it has been encouraging is the correct word through 6 days of this so far, because I've been trying to manage my expectations for the audience more than anything, Red, because we got J Mart making Super Bowl predictions on August the 3rd, and I screamed at him about it earlier.
Which, by the way, is the most unlikely source for that.
Really?
Of anybody I would have never thought Jason Martin would have said that.
He's all in.
It shocked me this morning. I'm like, whoa, okay. Step on out there, big boy.
Well, I demanded that he explain to me what's changed after 6 days of training camp, and he did so earlier. If you missed any of that, the podcast is there for you. But, like, when I watch A.J. Brown, just absolutely schooling dudes, and I'm trying to say, okay, but it's for him 5 days of practice.
That's right.
How much can I legitimately say? Now, it's continued through 5 days of practice.
Yeah, it's been consistent.
The thing
they're looking for.
Consistent to where I'm watching this guy just absolutely get ready to take the next step off of a year where he was dealing with knee issues and still found a way to have a hugely successful season. For of the players who are out here making an impression on you right now at camp, is there one in particular? We've talked about Tart. We've talked about Fulton. Are those the guys that you would go with, or is there another player that's
Amani Hooker's another
surprised
one.
you? Yeah.
Amani Hooker is clearly knows that he is ready to step in at that other safety spot after Kenny Vaccaro was jettisoned in the offseason. He certainly is one of those. And I'm watching these big rooks, too. Now, Rashad Weaver has gotten plenty of work and in plenty of spaces. And the same thing with Dylan Radins on the offensive line. And the way that I see them working him around things, again, Dylan Radins, and Coach Mack said it the night he was drafted. He said, this guy's at least in the active 8 or 9 on Sundays and probably finding himself into the starting lineup very quickly. And he is tracking for that right now.
Yeah. No, and the work, again, in the offseason that's allowed him to get to this point where he's comfortable so far through training camp. Because the biggest criticism, not criticism, but the biggest coaching point that Keith Carter had for him during the offseason, talking about Dylan Radins, is that he was over-analyzing, like, how to take the perfect first step before, taking off and trying to make sure that he gets to his reach block, or making sure that he's in the proper pass set, that he was almost thinking too much and trying to make sure that everything was too perfect rather than take the best step humanly possible and then play with violence and aggression.
Well, and let's go back and think about his history. I mean, he was the blind side for Trey Lance at a pretty tiny school. You know, it's kind of the Teair Tart thing. It's like small school, didn't have the resources, taking advantage of the resources. Well, I could see where a Dylan Radins would come in and overthink it because he wants to make the best impression possible, get himself inserted into this lineup and get some playing time. But that the fact that he is taking the coaching and look, it doesn't hurt that Lewan and Saffold have already started mentoring this guy because they see what John Robinson and the scouts saw the night they drafted him. They see something special there. And look, regardless of Jason Martin's prediction, they need the Teair Tarts and the Christian Fultons and the Darrington Evans and the Dylan Radinses. They need those guys to take a solid step forward and be those contributors in their spots.
Yeah, no, and that is the signs of encouragement that we are seeing at this point in the process. Mark Mabry, I sound like Kendrick Perkins now. Mark Mabry says that was so bad. Did you watch any of that? I don't know. You probably weren't cued into the NBA draft.
No, I didn't. I used to really, really like the NBA draft, but it's such an international game. I don't know who some of these guys are. Clearly, the major stars in college basketball, yeah, you know who they are or whatever, but I don't know guys that have played in the triangle offense their whole life somewhere 10,000 miles away. I don't know who they are.
In Latvia.
Yeah.
Latvia. Well, I'm curious to see if football internationally a different conversation. But you saw the quarterback who's skipping his senior year of high school to go straight to Ohio State and take advantage of NIL money. Stuff like that is going to start happening to this sport too. But the international element of it. Anyway, do we have the Moses Moody sound for Rhett Bryan before I
two of the best to ever do it? When you look at Moses when he did what he did in college.
Wow.
Just Reese Davis spitting at him. Moses Moody.
Kendrick, settle down there, big guy.
He's going to be my Titans analyst all season long. He also picked the Titans to win the Super Bowl. So we're working on a weekly with Kendrick Perkins in season. We will come back. Are you sticking around?
Sure.
Oh, look at that.
Let's do it.
What a lovely time we're having with Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio. At Rhett B. Tennessee is where you can follow him on the socials at Titans Radio. When we come back, I'd like to react to what the hell Shane Bowen had to say because it sounds like there may have been a bit of a fall guy type situation. And I would like to dive into that coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
The Install with Greg Cosell gives you an inside look into the film life of senior producer for NFL Films and NFL Matchup, Greg Cosell. The Install with Greg Cosell, joined by Buck Rising every Wednesday afternoon at 6. Download now at Apple Podcast, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast.
I try not to be too difficult. Rep Ryan of Titans Radio is here as well, and I was just talking about how I'm even a snob in my choice of donuts in my life. I told Will Bowling, who's been out here taking pictures of us while we have the setup, which is gracious of him, and of our guests when they stop by. I told him, Will, he's not allowed to take pictures of me from a certain angle anymore because my chin's looking a little multiple.
Okay.
Lately. But I'm almost to the point, Lucas, where I'm going to demand just all soul music on the show anymore. Like, I don't want any variation. You could just play me the Blues Brothers soundtrack until the end of time, and that is what I would like to bump.
You can't go wrong with that. That's good stuff.
I mean, I would not be one to complain about that.
No, I don't know. I feel like you would find a way to complain to me about that.
Wow.
I'd still sprinkle in some other stuff.
There it is. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved with the conversation. With Shane Bowen, who was just at the podium earlier, Rhett, the quotes from him. In fact, let's start with Rashaan Evans, who was also at the podium today, speaking about how different it feels to have Bowen as the designated defensive coordinator. Listen to this clip from the Titans inside linebacker.
Having a new offensive coordinator with a quarterback, just you get better and better, you get comfortable, talk more and more. You have more time with a guy like that, and the more and more time that you have with him, the better you become. And I feel like we're each slowly doing that even now, just with camp. I appreciate you guys seeing just the energy and just doing those little things, man. That's really what it's about right now in camp, just working on those little things so that when the big lights come on, we'll be able to play fast.
So the fans in the background summarily negated the audio. I did not realize that was in fact the case, but that's okay. What he's basically saying there, Rhett, is it feels like having a new coach the way that the defense is set up this year.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, and I heard him say that a few minutes ago, I mean, it sounds like they didn't have any communication together at all.
What the hell?
And I'm like, wait a minute. I know there was something, surely.
Well, but, I mean, it only makes the most sense in the world, right? That you can tell us, and listen, I understand that Vrabel is going to disclose however much Vrabel wants to disclose.
That's right. His choice.
As is his right. Yeah, there's a lot of choices being made societally lately, but I won't get into that. So when he tells us last year that Shane runs the meetings and Shane calls the defense and Shane calls the plays on the field, and then we come back and hear stuff like this today, how am I not supposed to look at that and think that Shane Bowen was the fall guy in 2020? Because I understand fans look for one face to assign all the blame to. That's not the right way to do the analysis. I think Shane Bowen got a bad rap in a great many ways last year. But to hear that from somebody like Rashaan Evans and Shane Bowen, who we'll hear from himself here in a second, how the hell am I supposed to receive something like that?
I don't know what the answer to that is, Buck. I mean, I just, look, I felt like all year long last year that Mike Vrabel was the de facto defensive coordinator. And, I know that it riled you and many others in the media corps up way more than it did me. I don't care. Whoever, just call it, do it, whatever.
Do it better, though.
Now, I'm glad that we have some semblance of, order and pecking order and how things are or whatever this year so that you can improve. Absolutely. But, because Shane is a bright guy. He is a bright coach. He really is. And, I don't know that we'll ever really know how you want to carve up the blame pile on what happened with, the defense last year. All I know is they've got to get better on third down, and that's where it starts.
And that's what they've spent the majority of this offseason focusing on, the improvement on third down. But, this was kind of the way that I process this, because I know I understand why you don't care, but it is my job to care.
I know that, and you have your right to get, again, your choice.
My body, my choice.
Your
Damn it,
choice.
Red. So it was an obsession. It was an obsession.
Oh, I know. I saw you fret about it many times last year, just like many others.
I see. It's getting bad because I've got Teron and John Glennon cracking up in the background, so now I feel like I'm doing too much to put on a stand-up routine. It is what it is. I'm more shameless with an audience, Red. I need to get better about that. But what I'll say is it was an obsession for all of us. One, because it was the worst thing that they did last year, and we were waiting for it to cost them, and did cost them opportunities in certain moments. Not to say that the offense didn't bail them the hell out, and even Stephen Gostkowski, once he settled in a little bit, found ways to bail that defense out. And there were things that they did on the coaching side of things. that found ways to negate the lack of talent that it feels like they sometimes had up front, where you're only getting a total of 19 sacks and less pressures.
Yeah, there are moments where the coaching staff would say was pushing the envelope, if you will, when they really needed a domino to fall. They needed something to happen to try to notch a win, and that happens. But look, at the end of the day, bottom line, got to be way better than 51% or whatever it was on third down. If you can find a way to keep the giveaway, takeaway stuff, I mean, they were really, really good with that, tops in the NFL, and somehow improve pass rush with Danico Autry and with Bud Dupree and, Harold Landry, and see what he has as a byproduct of having better people around him, and then tighten down the third down stuff. They could be onto something good.
Did you say tighten down to avoid saying tighten up?
I said it, and then I was like, okay, I chose the opposite. But anyway.
It's a heady play. Well, why don't we hear from Shane Bowen on the third down defense from a year ago?
Yeah, I think you got to learn from last year. I do. I think in the offseason we evaluate it and we come back to them with a plan on ways to improve. I think now that we're kind of into 2021, it's areas of emphasis for us. It's not about last year. It's about this year. We got to make sure, third down, red zone, all the turnovers continue, right? We make sure we emphasize those things. But, last year's over. We're a new team. We got a lot of new pieces. Half the guys in our defensive room weren't here last year, right? But understanding as a unit that, hey, these are areas we struggled with. We're going to make a big emphasis on this early on. We got to be better here, because if we're better here, it's going to carry over to be better throughout a lot of different areas defensively.
Sometimes when you hear a coach say, we're a new team this year, you just kind of brush it off as cliche. But he's spot on. Half of the defense is new. There's no way that they couldn't be a different team this year.
Well, and you turn over around 30% of your roster every year anyway. And if you listen to Coach Dave McGinnis, he'll tell you, it's like, hey, man, it's going to be more than that. It's going to be more than that. You'll see, because they were tied up against the cap. Cap was shrunk, the whole deal. But, yeah, there's a ton of new faces on that side of the ball. And so, working every day to get these guys cohesively together, and you can tell by the work they're putting in and what they're working on that the third down is huge in this. But he basically said what I just said. If you can keep the same vigor with the giveaways, takeaways, and be great in the turnover game and work on the pass rush and clean up the third down stuff, you're going to be onto something good. Because if the offense is anywhere near what it was last year, you're going to be doing great. But the whole idea is that you don't want to or have to score 31 points a game to walk out with a W.
Right, and the expectation, because that was my whole thing, Red. I was like, they don't need to find ways to score 30 points a game again, 30.7 to be specific, if you can get the defense to take a step forward. Now, turnovers, I think, are more difficult to carry over year to year, even as we see them coach it, and they do emphasize. I mean, the first rep...
And have had several here already.
Oh, my God, the secondary's all over the place.
Like that.
By the way, help me understand how I should be consuming Ryan Tannehill right now, because people tweet out interception by Fulton or Amani Hooker or not Caleb Farley, because he hasn't been out there to make an interception yet.
Right.
But in the case of the linebacker that made the pick today,
John Simon
made the pick today. How should I be looking at Ryan Tannehill with the camp interceptions right now? Because people see the tweets and they start to panic.
Okay, so let's go back to a few years ago when Marcus Mariota in his rookie year didn't throw one for 300 and whatever attempts it was.
I wasn't living here yet, but I remember that being a storyline on SportsCenter.
You would think that this is after Wally Pipp gave up first base for the New York Yankees, and all of a sudden, Lou Gehrig's in there for 9 million games or whatever. But you got to take it with a grain of salt. And look, some of them are going to come in red zone, 7-on-7, and some of those are going to come in teamwork. And, some, depending on who you ask, some would be more concerned at where that is. Did it happen in team? Did it happen in 7-on-7? Obviously, again, we can't tell all those details. But, get it out of the system here. That's fine. I don't, this doesn't count for anything.
Nope.
And
what, you mean my tweets that I'm keeping tabs of interceptions and touchdowns don't matter?
Well, we have to have something to keep tabs on. But come September 12th against the Arizona Cardinals, that's where it counts. And that's a very Coach Mack answer, but that's true, 100% in terms of, where it really matters. And it's not like he's been really sloppy with the ball. This defense is getting after it too.
Yeah,
we got to give them their credit in this.
Oh no, and I think in the same way that I'm trying to be measured in my excitement for A.J. Brown,
yeah,
I think I'm having that same reaction to the defense where I'm like, okay, he's clearly trying stuff that he wouldn't try in a normal situation or a couple weeks into camp. I'm talking about Ryan Tannehill.
And typically everywhere of the 32 camps, the first week to week and change, the defense is better than the offense. It's just a thing that happens till the offense gets – and, they're still trying to work out the offensive line. We talked about Dylan Radins and whether he's going to be the right tackle in all of this.
Yeah.
And, the whole thing. And then you've got guys like Taylor Lewan who are getting, load management, watching reps, getting him back in the building kind of thing. And, this
you know what he does, by the way, with those load management sessions? He comes over here and chirps at me about what I'm wearing today.
Well, and it's because he's mad because he don't want to go in the building. He wants to be out there with his guys and doing the thing.
It's a good football answer.
But seriously, it is part of the shift that you're seeing, that what Coach Vrabel and his staff are so good at in making sure that this team is ready in whatever off schedule or how. So now we have 3 preseason games and we have 17 regular season games. We knew some of this was going to shift. We figured going into this that we're going to see practices where A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are not out there at the same time. And for these offensive linemen that are over 30, they're going to get their maintenance days more than they used to. And I know that's, way different.
Which Taylor Lewan is one now. He's 30.
That's right. And this is so different from when I was your age covering this team, and it was 2 a day, and, it took all day long, and you had a morning session and an afternoon session, and, you better have your butt in there, and, the whole deal. It's so different.
And a concussion was getting your bell rung.
Yeah. Well, they wasn't exactly running the Oklahoma drill out here, but, it's vastly different through the new CBAs over the years. And so, they've learned, because these guys are so conditioned and they watch what they do and watch what they eat, that you don't need quite as much as you used to. And that's why it's developed into what it is now, with just a handful of padded practices and shorter training camp and now shorter preseason.
Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio is here with us on 104.5 The Zone. At Rhett B. Tennessee is where you can follow him. Now, Titans Radio is the best in the storytelling business. This is the time when you get to tell stories of guys who are going to be intriguing through the preseason, leading up to the season once we get down to the staggered roster cut days. Whose story are you most interested in telling right now outside of the big names that we know?
Well, if you're talking about, the young guys that are trying to hang on to the roster and get a spot, I think Torrey Carter, the fullback from LSU, is very interesting in this. Obviously, a Racey McMath, a big, giant, fast wide receiver that he is a big story. Where Chris Jackson picks up where he left off after being a 7th-round draft pick last year by this team. And again, the Marcus Johnson is a wide receiver in this. Is a 5th-year man from the University of Texas who's been around a couple of places. He's made some nice plays in the last week and is trying to find his way through that wide receiving core. There's several guys in this that you want to take a look at, and some of those are undrafted guys. Where is Monty Rice? John Robinson surprised a lot of people and took him in the 3rd round, where people thought he might take a tight end or he might take whatever. Where is Monty Rice? What is Monty Rice's story?
Getting in a dust-up at the end of practice today.
That's it.
So for how important for your guys' operation, by the way, we talked about this last week when Mike Keith was on with us, but congratulations on the extension of Titans Radio with 104.5 The Zone. That's great news for all of us because you guys are the most important assets that we have outside of, us who just fill the airspace. You guys are the ones who actually make the audience smarter.
You're kind to say that, but I'm telling you, our group, our crew is super excited for, we're all creatures of habit. I don't want anybody to have to go anywhere else to find Titans Radio. And the fact that the home of Titans Radio remains 104.5 The Zone is great. It's fantastic. It's been that way for a long time, since I think 2004 is where, but it actually started on this same station when they moved from – we actually were carrying Houston Oilers games as an extension of them, knowing they were moving here when WGFX was a rock station, when I worked on it all those years ago. So it started here. It went to our sister station, WKDF, which is 103.3 Country now. That's in our building. But, yeah, it stays right here on 104.5 The Zone. And the fact that Titans Radio gets to hang in the building with everybody again and keep moving forward in a very fun time. Very fun time.
It's a good time to be in this business.
You know, you're talking about a team that's got, 5 straight winning seasons, 3 out of the 4 last years in the playoffs. They've made a run to the AFC Championship game. They're trying to get back to one of those and more now by – what John Robinson has done with this roster. So it's a great time to keep the wagon rolling.
Just to clarify, did you say 104.5 The Zone or The Zone?
Zone.
Rhett Bryan here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Preseason, how big a difference does it make for you guys to be able to do what you do and sharpen your tools just the way that the players are ahead of the actual regular season once we get closer to the postseason?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's a chance for us to knock off the rust and get into regular season form. And, we've got a little different personnel. I'm going back to the game day host chair as I was a few years ago. Hopefully I'm better for it this time around because I was in over my head before, and I'm sure people have figured that out. But and more excited, Amy Wells is going to be co-hosting Titans Countdown Network pregame, which, Buck, you'll be a part of now.
Sure will.
With Jim Wyatt there in segment 7 before we get to Coach Vrabel's keys to the game.
Oh, we've got our own segment. Spicy.
Yes, that's right. It's it's really exciting. I'm thrilled for Amy Wells to get this opportunity. She's earned it. She's so smart, knows this Titans team inside and out, knows football very well. And like myself, she and I both have gone to the CMSOB, the Coach Mack School of Ball.
Yes.
And, but, yeah, I'm super excited for that. But the fact that we, continue to get to work with Coach Dave McGinnis and, of course, Mike Keith, who is in more Hall of Fames than all of us.
Another one over the weekend.
Yeah.
You're going to be kidding me.
Yeah.
He was walking around with a medal. I thought he won Olympic gold yesterday.
Well, that actually took place in 2020. It's just they didn't have a ceremony because of the pandemic last year. So they inducted 2 different years of classes, both 2020 and 2021, over the weekend in Murfreesboro. It was a great night, great ceremony.
People think it's the Rona that you can't stop, but no, it's Mike Keith winning more medals.
Stop the VOT.
You cannot stop the voice of the Titans. Rhett Bryan, always bringing it strong. Here with us on 104.5 The Zone. My brother, thank you for helping us, translate what we are seeing out here on the practice fields right now.
I'm glad to do it. I'm going back to the Salt Mine, which is my studio, and got a lot to do between now and next Friday in Atlanta. And so here I go.
Spicy. Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio, the best in the business. We'll come back. We'll do the polls. We'll wrap this thing up live from St. Thomas Sports Park. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Non-stop Titans talk and reaction. That's what we do.
But he's driven back inside the 5, and they fling him to the turf.
This is your exclusive home for Titans football.
104.5 The Zone.
Where are you sprinting over from?
Did I scare you? What do you mean? I'm stuck. I'm telling you, I'm stuck in my own little quarantine under this tent. So during the commercial breaks, I like to roam. I made it back in time. Nothing happened. You're not capable of talking for 2 seconds. I can't get you to shut up under normal circumstances. What are you talking about?
You want me to take over? I'll do it.
No, because that's the end of my job.
Yeah, I'll just shut off your mic next time and do it myself.
You're much less expensive than me. They're looking for reasons to get rid of me. Say, well, no, I'm not giving out. I do this every day now. I give out the number and then I forget we're ending the show.
Yeah. 615-737. Never mind. Don't call us.
Poll questions is what we will do momentarily. But head coach Josh Heupel speaking to the media today as well. We haven't talked about the Vols. It's been all Titans all the time just because we're sitting out here and I forget that anything else is happening in the world. But what is the latest from the Volunteers head coach, Lucas?
Well, he hit on a lot of things, and it wasn't just him. It was offensive coordinator Alex Golesh, defensive coordinator Tim Banks as well. Heupel talked about the starting quarterback battle, vaccination rate among this Tennessee football team, less than 80% at the moment. He said they're making progress there. But one thing to take away, this team is essentially completely healthy going into fall camp. No major injuries to speak of, no guys being held out like you saw for a majority of spring practice, and then no update, of course, on the NCAA investigation right now hanging over this program.
Of course there isn't. Why would there be?
Right.
We're like a month from the season starting, right? What the hell is that?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you don't know. You never know a timetable with these things. It's a complete and total crapshoot. So he gave the whole, we're controlling what we can control. The administration's done a great job dealing with all of that. But essentially, the update is there is no update.
All right. Well, but he did provide at least a little more context on the quarterback battle, right? I believe we have that audio from Josh Heupel, who was at the podium today, because that's the biggest question about the Vols right now. One, what can their defense do? But more importantly, who the hell is going to be the quarterback who takes the bulk of the reps, if not the full-time starter? Who is this person going to be between the guys that have been brought in as transfers and Harrison Bailey, the incumbent? Well, I guess you have Brian Maurer, too, who has the ability to change the game with his legs, if not his arm. This was Vols head coach Josh Heupel speaking on his quarterback competition earlier today.
I anticipate us having a starter during the course of week one for sure. That doesn't mean the other guys won't have opportunities to share roles. I think it's the challenge for every player to earn the trust of the coaching staff and show that they're going to compete at a consistent and championship level.
Go right after he's done.
Once kids do that, I think it's important that you as a coaching staff put them in a position to have an opportunity to have a role and play a part of what you're doing. Quarterbacks, just like every other position, those competitive battles that they're in, you dwindle the reps down and make decisions when guys have shown that they've earned the opportunity to become a 1 or become a 2 or become a 3, based on how they perform. And so as we go through training camp, the players will dictate how that unfolds.
That was Josh Heupel at the podium earlier today.
And Alex Golesh, the offensive coordinator, like I said, spoke to the media too. He said here in the next week and a half, they'd love to get it down to 2, maybe 3. As far as whittling down the quarterback competition. I think a lot of people think that's already kind of the case between Harrison Bailey and Joe Milton, but that's what Golesh said today. He also echoed that they don't want the starting quarterback known until that September 2nd kickoff against Bowling Green, but Golesh followed that up with, quote, I don't know if that's possible or not here. Seems like it's not.
Spicy quarterback competition. You love to see it. Getting closer to college football season. All right, let's do some polls.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. The polls have closed and the votes have been tallied. It's the segment where bias takes over and nuance goes to die. Now, here's your favorite Buck Rising Show correspondent, Lucas. Pan, make that poll Zika.
What are you most excited to learn about from the Titans' first day in pads? Offensive line, defensive line, run game, or tight ends? 58% here say the defensive line, 17% say the offensive line, 21% tight ends, 4% the run game. So defensive line, which apparently has been impressing through the first few days.
It sure as hell was today. You saw Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry just eating dudes in the run game. The drills that they were running out here in the end zone closest to us. We'll run back a comment from Shane Bowen tomorrow because I want to talk about defensive line versatility. The defensive coordinator was really good on that from the podium earlier today. But defense in the first day of pads, They look a hell of a lot better than the offense. That's okay. You expect that right now. But it's a good sign to see from the unit that needs the most improvement.
Who are you most excited to watch this season, A.J. Brown or Julio Jones? 68% go with A.J. Brown.
68% of you are correct, which is crazy to say. How on earth did we find ourselves talking about there being a greater anticipation, more hype around A.J. Brown when Julio Jones has just gotten to Tennessee? But it's true. Maybe just because we've seen so much less of Julio through these 6 days of camp, and that was going to be the case anyway. We've talked about how they manage his body, how they just try and basically get him ready for the games. But A.J. Brown is putting on a show in a way that is clear and obvious to everybody.
What is one thing keeping the Titans from winning the Super Bowl? A ton of responses here. Crazy Pellet says kicker, then offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. The Titans have the talent, but just need the right direction and everyone to play to their strengths and be put in the right position to make plays.
Do you know the damn kickers didn't miss today?
Yeah, 6 for 6, right?
How crazy is that?
Were they 6 for 6 collectively or each of them?
6 for 6 collectively.
Okay.
Collectively. The new kicker who has been brought into the building, Sam Ficken, who was very accurate, didn't miss a kick from inside of 50 last year for the New York Jets. Apparently just, cutting one of them, sending one of them to the Wolves, or rather the waiver wire in the case of Blake Haubeil, got the kickers back on track.
Let's see. Eldon says depth at key positions, edge, inside linebacker, defensive line, and kicker.
Yeah, I think that kicking is going to continue until such time as the kicking is not in question, and it remains in question every day but today. That, I think, is going to be the biggest thing that people continue to cite as what's keeping them from a Super Bowl. There's a lot of good answers on this question, by the way. That's why I wanted to leave ourselves a little more room to go through some of them.
Joshua says Vrabel's control of the defense, which is apt considering what we're talking about today with Shane Bowen's role.
And that's going to be how I lead the radio show tomorrow, because I still can't get over that. I'm going to go back and watch the full press conference. I'm going to go back and watch Rashaan Evans' comments as well. The idea that we were out here talking to a fall guy for an entire season is crazy to me. Crazy to me. And the fact that everybody's just like, yeah, it was tough for me to be in all of the meeting rooms, given that I was calling the plays, but I'm really the outside linebackers coach. So what am I going to go to the DB room for?
Josh Murbit says the pass rush and kicker probably. That collectively sums up about 80% of these responses, and they're not totally wrong.
No. I saw, again, more penis jokes because you guys can't get away from those with Mike Vrabel and his male genitalia being offed for a Super Bowl, God forbid. But a fun show today. By the way, I am so happy that Blaine and Mickey are back in the studio. How long was it for them being out of the studio? Are they in there right now? Can they hear me?
I'm looking at them right now. I don't know if they can hear you. They're chatting it up before the show. But
J Mart didn't have me on in the studio when he was sitting there today. Blaine and Mickey won't turn the radio show on. Where are my teammates?
Well, hang on. They're doing some show prep. All right. They're take it easy on those guys. They don't owe anything to you.
Yes, they do. No, I owe everything to them, to be honest with you.
I think Mickey Ryan has something to say to you about this.
Yeah, turn my mic on.
I think Blaine Bishop's got something to say.
Yes.
Is this the same guy that stood us up last week for not doing our show?
Oh, that's a good point. Good point by Blaine.
What did I do what was I doing last Friday?
Not our show.
You were with Greg Cosell.
Oh, I had a good reason, Blaine. Get out of here. I didn't stand you up.
What was your reasoning?
My reasoning is that Greg Cosell had to travel all week, so the install had to be taped Friday right after practice instead of Wednesday.
Wait, pump the brakes. You did Greg Cosell over us?
Yep.
That makes no sense. We work with you at the station. How could you put somebody that's an outsider before us?
Because they pay me more, Blaine. Because they pay me more to do that one.
Wow.
I love you both, but they pay me more to do that.
I guess we know our place, so we'll stay where we're at.
Yeah, I think we already knew that.
No, you know where your place
is. Our place. Just embrace our place.
I think we needed any.
That's what we'll do.
You know where your place is, the both of you. It's in the studio. Damn it! I'm happy to have you back. I'm so excited to be able to be in the building on Thursday. I'm looking forward to seeing you both. It's been way too damn long.
Oh right, well yeah, we had to make sure everything was up to par before we came back in because we're old and we get sick easily.
Yeah. That's the kind of radio you can expect from 1 to 3 today with Blaine Bishop and Mickey Ryan. Blaine and Mickey comes your way next. I'm out of here. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow.
Getting you geared up for another Titans season.
Touchdown, Titans!
On your home for Titans football and flagship for